Okay, so I was gonna do this talk about um, the recreational and environmental sport idea that I've been having. I think I had it when I got out it when I left the house this morning, but I had to clean up the dishes from last night when I got myself into gear. So basically, what it is, and this is I'm excited about this idea that we create these like a crown, a pantheon, a stage area that's like in the ocean. It's like it's not well, it's it's semi-permanent. Okay, so we can get fantastic and yet very simple, very simple. It's very you have an equation, a mathematical equation that makes it the most simple, even if it is variable or adjustable. And so basically you're creating this structure in the surf zone that creates two things. It creates a recreational situation, refraction, so the waves are bouncing, so it's surfing, recreational surfing, the waves are bouncing off this, and they're doubling up in size, and it's all very scientific. So a lot of artificial reefs, they don't actually work. It's because you're not looking at the two-dimensional, the vertical and the horizontal, so it has to have the right depth, and then the angle, so that the thing comes in, and if it's at the right angle, it's just going to, it has to break, and so you just put it in the right place. Yeah, but in between, so you have these two walls, typically, and at the front, they're sort of sticking out into the deeper water. There's a gate there, and between these you have like a little launch ramp. So you might even have like a little bay right there where you could put a boat first, get everyone on the boat. People could even you could even have like a micro harbor right there with a lock, so you're protected from the waves and you're ready to go, and you can launch more boats right in here. And it's also becomes this like nice arena area. Because it's protected, you could because it's got the locks, you could have it at near sea level, so there's not like a long launch ramp. Perhaps a crane as well, a simple crane to launch your boats. Both, so you have like a ramp that could be covered up so that you don't waste that space. But you have this little courtyard arena plaza type thing almost, where people could hang out. The boat's there. There's just over the wall. There's potentially really great recreational activity. And so ideally these things are either directly or nearly directly connecting. So there's a road that comes in, and so you have the Unit E comes in, convoys, little road trains, all connected, of these sort of box office seating. So you have this like ideal, and this is kind of goes back to the Beach Boys, surfers, hanging out at the beach, watching the sport out there, because only a few people can really surf at a time. So it's nice to watch, it's nice to hang out there. People are walking by, it could be fun, and but you pay for this parking, so you get this like perfect parking. It's like an event potentially, and you shift the convoys, right? So you get whoever is there at any particular time is sort of part of an algorithm. Who wants to be there. First of all, that's like really crucial that we know, where we should be. What wave are we trying to catch? Where's that perfect curl that we need to enforce? Bank, so it's almost like, you angle it up so that it's easy to catch the perfect wave. Okay, and so the other part is sort of looking at all environmental at-risk environments, ecologically at-risk environment. So the worst thing that could happen ecologically to nature is a fire. So that burns everything. So that's a good perspective to start with. Sort of like if you have some beautiful flowers and someone throws them in the garbage, it's like the fire. Sort of like they just weren't respected. Nobody said I don't. It's like a bundle of stuff, of junk. But if you display them in the right order and in the right location, so this is really crucial that they're in the right location. So if it's in the path of the fire, everything gets wrecked. So you want people to go out there and rake up stuff that could be burned, and yet to leave just a little bit. So this is really crucial. We have the camera phone. This potentially the great potential. Potentially the great potential. Right. Yes. I'm a little. I got this car and my seat is broken, and actually it's going back so far that I have to like lean forward, and it's kind of my own seat is not too comfortable at all as well, and so I'm in the jitter spot here. I can't find a quiet space. So this is the reason why we want to have Unit E. So it's like the convoy. It's like every vehicle is dynamically functional. It can perform as function dynamically. Okay, so it's your picnic box office. It actually rotates. This would be the ideal, so that you could literally get what you really want to see, and some privacy when you want that. All right, and the mobility. So, hey, my box office is there. Come on, everybody, let's hang out. We're having a little cheers, a little toast and stuff like that, and watching what's going on. And when it gets boring, we rotate it, and then we have so much privacy that we have sort of almost quasi-security, just emotional security, so that we look to those who are seeking attention, so we can actually figure this out, actually rotate the thing. I really love that idea, especially if it's portable, so it's not like you're stuck there, but you can perceive all angles, and then off to the next spot where you want to manage the environment. We want to say, look, that stuff that's in the path of the fire, we rake that up. We make a picnic. We make a recreation out of this, out of saving the environment. Very crucial, very important, very popular. I guess I'm trying to do these languages, but I need some sort of ideal situation where I can reflect off of other people who aren't sort of overly, imposed on by my sort of seeking of wisdom, or lack of responsibility that I need to have. Okay, it's not something you pretend. You actually have it, or you virtually don't. So what was I talking about? I'm looking in the mirror here. It's kind of stupid. Yeah, so I'm trying to compose this this thing and present it, always all together. So I see these ideas, these equations as these sort of stars, these sort of crystalline structures. So they're not random, but they are civilized structures that are sort of mathematically aligned. But there are a bunch of stars, and they need to all align together so that we can literally say, look, here is the angle, and then we can actually, when we say one angle on one structure, we're actually talking about the other one far up ahead, so that we can actually figure that out, because that is very tricky. You can kind of imagine if you get it wrong, or if you have an ambiguity there, or if it's an ambiguity, it's a false representation of a beam or a pillar or an angle, a structural philosophy, right? So I want to get it all lined up. If I had to go on medication, fasting is absolutely sort of good, boy in the bubble. You see, this we would like to be in the bubble and to understand that bubble, and to understand that bubble's functions are dynamic. So it's actually the cube, where we're managing social focus, but also ecological focus, and figuring, countries have names, and so we have to figure out where, how we can actually balance that out on that crystalline structure again with the crystalline crystallized. I don't know. Civilian structure. Coffee. I had this donut and I shouldn't have had it. It was too. I didn't know what I was getting there. So I want to compose this stuff, and it'll be potentially amazing. Especially Unit E. So all the different components. So they are. So in a sense, when you say you have a crystalline structure, a cube, a sphere of awareness, a planet. You have a planet. I give you a planet, and you do what you want to do with it. You figure it out. But understanding that the lineation kind of goes on forever. So in the future, things we can say, oh yeah, remember that function way back here in the beginning? Well, out in the front, that's going to make our lives better, and we're going to have stabilizing, how do you call it, mechanisms, right? So in our mind, basically, we might suddenly go, oh my God, that's way out there, like we're living in the future, right? But at the same time, then you go, oh, remember that mechanism that stabilizes us, that keeps us, that stabilizes us, okay? So the mechanism within has an energy. We're harnessing that energy. We're saying, look, we're going to put that element that is at risk in this this mechanism, okay, and we're going to stabilize the structure. And if we're not in the right place, we can. I kind of lost that. I don't know if you guys saw where I'm going. So the energy in the mechanism to make life better. So if sort of this desperation of alienation, that's it's catch-22. You can't if you weren't alienated, you wouldn't need any understanding. And I mean, look at the history. I mean, my great-grandparents and grandparents, Americans, first, second generation, were successful. Okay, and this is, they were successful, and yet they had abandoned or, fled from the old and increasingly troubled world, really troubled. I mean, not easy, but difficult. 100 years ago, my great-grandparents were all being successful, having being connected. First generation, they're all 100 years ago. They were all first generation great-grandparents of mine, and all somewhat essentially successful. And you can see the connections. I mean, if there was no connection, they might go off to somewhere else, Australia or something like that. But once you kind of sink in, what are you supposed to do? You become entrenched, the stick in the mud, and we need to be reeling that which is real. Okay, and sometimes, often, if it's really important, then we're not going to, the big system is going to override the little system, and we're going to lose God. We're going to lose the environment. We're going to lose everything. All these opportunities, all these great opportunities to make life better, to make the world more easy and okay, easier, because